that people or even companies who offer virtual asset services don't have a license to operate? What are the legal consequences or implications of that?
Okay, so the Virtual Assets Act does provide for prohibition provisions when entities offer virtual asset services to the public unauthorized, and that includes fines issued by the bank, penalties, and as well as criminal charges. The Act also includes enforcement provisions that the bank can take, such as cease and desist orders and other enforcement mechanisms.
And I guess for new virtual assets being sold to the public, is there anything that, or any information rather, that the company or the individual would have to share with the buyers?
Yes, so I did mention the Virtual Assets Act, but it's not applied in isolation. It is accompanied by a number of subordinate laws, specifically the disclosure rules. So it sets standards for VAS, virtual asset service providers, to follow in terms of disclosing information to their users. And this includes extensive disclosures on the services that they intend to offer, the rights and responsibilities of both parties, fees, complaint and dispute resolution mechanisms, and also further escalation procedures to the bank itself.
And how would the new law then regulate or control the advertising around virtual assets, just so that people aren't misled by, I guess, certain campaigns that might not be very accurate?
Yes, so another subordinate legislation is also the Virtual Assets Advertising Rules that set standards on how VASP should treat their promotion materials, and this should be clear, transparent, and not in a misleading information, being clear on the fees being imposed, being clear on the rights and obligations of both parties. But once an entity has been licensed by the bank, they're also subjected to ongoing oversight and supervision. So we also ensure that these advertising material aligns with the requirements set by the law.
And for those that have their license operating and the world is a happy place, what would make or rather, in what type of situation would a company or an individual be suspended and perhaps just lose their license to operate? What are the scenarios that would be that? I guess, what would they do, or how does that come about? Like suspensions? Is there anything that can make your license be revoked?
Yes. So the Act does provide for grounds for suspending, cancelling, and revoking licenses granted to VASP. As mentioned, these entities are subjected to ongoing oversight from the bank. So where an entity fails to comply with legal requirements, they are involved in fraudulent activities, or where their operations poses a risk to their consumers or the financial ecosystem at large, the bank may then revoke or suspend their license. But the grounds are also clearly outlined within the law.
And are there any particular protections maybe that are in place to make sure that these virtual assets aren't used for things that could get your license suspended or revoked, like money laundering or funding terrorism? I know it's a bit of an extreme, but are there any protections in place to safeguard against that?
Yes, so at the onset, when licensing is applied for, there are requirements pertaining to anti-money laundering. However, once the bank licenses a VASP, they are then subjected to prudential oversight by the bank, but they have to register with the Financial Intelligence Center for AML supervision. So they will also be subjected to ongoing compliance monitoring in terms of the Financial Intelligence Act.
100%. Lots of information there, but everything that is very much important to know when trying to obtain a license and keep your license as well. So, Aisha, thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate the time. Ask the Central Bank on Script on the Drive on 99 FM.